Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining me. So like I'm sure many of you here today, I grew up really with one dream, and that was starting a condom company with my dad. So that wasn't my dream, shockingly, but I think when I tell you my story, you'll understand how I ended up here today. So it really started off a couple years ago. I was finishing up my MBA at NYU, and my dad approached me with an idea he'd had many years before, a sustainable condom company. And, you know, I was a little skeptical of getting into business with my family, but I ended up deciding that it would be a really great thing. And I know that you're sitting there probably thinking, like, what the hell are you doing starting a sexual wellness company with your parents? But my family actually has a long history when it comes to creating natural products. So my father, Meika Hollender, founded Seventh Generation over 30 years ago. So he had some experience in the world of building and creating change through business. So the next question you're probably thinking is, how do you go from toilet paper to condoms? And the reason is, you know, when we were thinking and learning about this category, the most intimate category on the market, the ingredients used in everything from condoms to lubricants can actually really harm rather than hurt bodies. So we saw a huge opportunity. You know, everybody's thinking about what they're eating, what they're putting on their face. Now we can't stop talking about organic cotton tampons, but nobody was thinking about what's in the products we're using to have safe sex. So the next thing I did was I started thinking about this all from a female perspective. And I learned some pretty interesting statistics. 1 in 4 college freshmen gets an STD during their first year at school. Only 21% of single sexually active women use condoms regularly, and 48% of pregnancies in the US are unplanned, higher than any other developed country. Part of that also that was interesting was 70% of women report feeling uncomfortable and even ashamed buying condoms. Yet, 40% of condoms are actually purchased by women. So in addition to seeing an opportunity to create better, safer, healthier products in this space, we decided to focus on women and make products with their body first and foremost in mind. So the first year was really all about getting this business off the ground, and Jeffrey and I sat down and realized we needed to raise about $3 million to build our team and to get our first manufacturing run done. So we raised $3 million from friends and family, and we've raised a subsequent round of funding since then. But then we realized we actually did not know anything about making condoms. So we did some research, and we ended up hiring the former head of R&D from Durex to help us figure out our supply chain and manufacturing process. And you know, we first started with the latex. So something that I didn't know and that you might not know is that latex is actually the sap of the rubber tree. So just like maple syrup, you tap the maple tree and the syrup comes out, and you tap the rubber tree and the latex comes out. So it's a wonderful renewable resource, and we traveled all over the world looking for a rubber plantation to source our latex from, and we learned some pretty terrible things and saw some pretty uncomfortable things. Most rubber plantations in the world have children working on the plantation. They're using harmful chemicals on the plantation, and they can be some pretty nasty places. And we got lucky and found the only fair trade certified rubber plantation in the world that makes latex for condoms in southern India. And so we partnered with them to source our latex. The next part of the process was really figuring out how to manufacture condoms in a way that really met our sustainability standards. So we learned something else through this former head of R&D that we hired. Most condoms sold in the US have carcinogens in the latex called nitrosamines. These are not something that the big companies are adding to the manufacturing process, but when you heat and mold latex, nitrosamines form. And nitrosamines get released when they come into contact with bodily fluids. So it was critical to us to create a manufacturing process that did not result in nitrosamines in the latex, which we were able to do. And this took time. Condoms are a Class 2 medical device regulated by the FDA, so it wasn't about just coming up with a formula and moving forward. We had to go through the FDA, and it took about 9 months for us to get our product made. But we're really proud of that process. And part of our work is about inspiring the rest of the category to really not put nitrosamines in condoms, because nitrosamines are actually regulated in other latex products like pacifiers, but for some reason in the US, the FDA is not regulating them in condoms. The next step was really distribution. We obviously had good contacts from 7th generation, but something really interesting happened when we went to meet with retailers. Most of the buyers at places like Target and Whole Foods and CVS buying condoms are actually women. So we were meeting with women and explaining to them, first and foremost, we have a better, safer, healthier product. And secondly, we're going to be focusing on women. We're going to be marketing to them, and we're going to be having conversations with them. And that was sort of this magic moment where everything just clicked. They totally understood what we were doing, and they kept telling us that they were so grateful that we were focusing on this neglected part of the market. I mean, I don't know the last time you've gone into CVS and just spent some time cruising the family planning aisle. I do that on a regular basis, but it's not the most friendly of places. It's very bright, it's very bold, it's very neon. It's not really talking about health and wellness in the way that we are. So in particular, with building distribution, and we're now in over 3,000 stores nationwide in under 2 years, we saw something really interesting happen with Whole Foods. So 20 years ago, Whole Foods wasn't selling paper towel, paper products, but they built that category with 7th generation. And when we brought them Sustain, our condoms, our lubricants, our wipes, they were so excited to lean into this category with us. So we're really building the sexual wellness products category at Whole Foods nationwide. And that's something that I'm very proud of. So then we were getting ready to launch, and something else happened. I got an email, and it was from my publicist, and she said, the first piece on Sustain ran, here's the link. I was thrilled. Something we'd been working on for a year was really about to come into the world. I clicked on the link. It was on this big media site. It was a great piece. And then I got slut-shamed in the first comment. So I'm sure you can't see where you're sitting, although these cameras are big, so maybe you can, but I have a big freckle on my lower lip. And the first comment read, "What's on her lower lip? Is that an STD? She should be using condoms, not selling them." And I was totally devastated. Here I was, a young woman trying to start a business, and all that was being focused on was my appearance and my gender. And I talked, and I've talked about, and we had thought about focusing on women really as a market opportunity, but this is when it really became our mission. I don't know how many of you out there have been slut-shamed. I'm sure it's most of you, but this was not going to be okay with us. I was on a mission and am on a mission to make sure that every single time a woman buys, carries, and uses condoms, she feels proud and empowered, not ashamed. Thank you. Thank you. So, we kept building this brand. We got a lot of distribution very quickly, and then I had a little bit more free time to think about this mission and what it meant to be a woman in this category. And what I started to learn is that women are really uncomfortable talking about sex, because if you are a woman carrying a condom, you are still a slut, and if you are a guy, you're a hero. And we needed to switch that and change that. So Women's Health Week was coming up. This was a couple months ago, back in May. And something that I'd noticed about Women's Health Week was there is nonstop talk about green juice and oil pulling and Pilates and meditation apps, and that's all great. But what about sexual health? A critical part of our overall wellness is neglected every single year. So I decided I was going to do something about that. and I was going to get 100,000 women around the country to pledge to practice safe sex during Women's Health Week. I got a couple friends together, and I decided the most effective way to do this was to film a really open, honest conversation of young women talking about sex and taking the pledge. So I'm going to show you the video, and then I'll tell you how it worked out.
Let's talk about sex, baby.
Let's talk about you
and me.
Let's talk about all the good things
and the bad things
that may be.
Let's talk about sex.
I can't help but sing it.
Let's talk about sex.
Sex, sex, sex. Banging.
Getting the pipe.
Getting laid.
Collaboration.
Making love.
Fucking.
Getting it on.
Coitus.
Doing it.
Getting busy.
Ooh, that's too dirty. I can't say that.
Sex.
Sex. When doves cry.
Like, my face is like beet red. Okay, go ahead, sorry.
It's time to stand up for our sexual health.
Take the pledge to practice safe sex.
I pledge.
I pledge.
I pledge to practice safe sex.
Because I love myself and I love my body.
Because it's 2016, and is that still a question?
I pledge to practice safe sex because safe sex is smart.
Because there's so much I want to do, see, and experience in this life.
Because my health is paramount.
Because I value myself, my body, and my life.
I pledge to practice safe sex because I'm obsessed with myself.
Because I believe in making babies on purpose.
Because I want to be in control of my body, and I definitely don't want an STD.
I pledge to practice safe sex because I can.
To learn more and take the pledge, go to letsgetontop.com.
Get on top.
Get on top.
Get on top.
Will you pledge to get on top?
Will you pledge? You. Thank you. So that was a really incredible experience for me, creating that campaign and getting everybody from the founder of Thinx Underwear to the co-founder of Refinery 29 to come together for this issue and to really help start this national conversation. We launched this campaign on the first day of Women's Health Week with Fast Company, and we had thousands of women taking this pledge within hours of the video going out. And it was so important. And really beyond that, it represents something to me about being an entrepreneur. I don't think I could be doing what I'm doing if there wasn't really truly an altruistic aspect to what I'm doing. And what I mean by that is I watched my father for 30 years get up every single day, no matter what was going on with the business, and keep going because he was on a mission to make the world a better place. And I always got that in theory, you know, that he was trying to prove that you can do good and do well, but I didn't fundamentally understand it until starting Sustain. And I can actually stand up here and tell you honestly that if Sustain shuts down tomorrow, I will know that I've left the world off better than I found it. Because every single day, we have women writing to us, calling us from across the world, telling us that our products make them feel good having sex. Buying condoms is an experience they actually enjoy rather than dread. I had a young woman come up to me a couple months ago when I was speaking and tell me she had dreaded, you know, her parents never talked to her about sex. She didn't get the education in school because, by the way, many states still require abstinence education. And she went to the store and she saw our product and she just had a totally different experience than she ever thought. So this is something, you know, I'm proud to do, I love to do, and I really feel that I also can't do it on my own. And starting a campaign like this and asking all of you to get on your phones and take the pledge is something that I know that if we work together, we can change the world. So thank you all so much for having me, and have a great time over the next few days.